Welcome back to the Comic Lyra podcast. I forget the intro because I haven't done it in a while, but if this
You did it last week!
I checked the tape. I don't think I did. I think we were like, we're back again or something.
Oh, did we ad-lib last week?
I think we ad-lib most weeks nowadays.
Hello and welcome to the Comic Lyra podcast, the podcast where we talk... Oh, fuck, no,
exactly,
I can't.
yeah.
I was about to, like, launch into the OG one with, like, Penny Dreadfuls and stuff.
Yes, that was years ago now.
Literally fucking years ago, Ryan.
I want to try and include, if I remember, because this, luckily for us, is a thing we have to think about now. If this is your first episode of the podcast, what we do is we talk about a comic for an entire podcast episode, basically.
We've been working on some ideas recently for some, like, facelift stuff, haven't we? That's in the pipeline. I think it's fair.
Are you finally getting that facelift?
Yeah, well, I need it. We're working on some, like, you know, maybe a new look and sound for the podcast. Yep. Like, just needs a little refresh, doesn't it?
New segments, general thoughts was a blast.
Yeah, that was great. I listened to that episode today, Ryan. Great stuff. So maybe, yeah. But we're here today and we're doing more bottom of the barrel DC slot.
I am on the complete other side of the wavelength of this, which we will get to.
No fucking shit. You liked it?
Well, we'll get into it because we're talking about Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum, which is a limited
spectrum.
Pot kettle black.
Yeah, true.
So we're talking about the Kryptonite Spectrum, which is a short, limited series Superman comic, which was written, drawn, and everything by the same team behind the Ice Cream Man comic series, the horror anthology series.
Yeah.
Which is one we've done before. There's an episode in the past. Maybe I'll link it if I remember to. But written by W. Maxwell Prince, with art by Martín Morazzo, and color by Chris O'Halloran. So, like I say, it's by the Ice Cream comic creators. Before we get into anything else,
it's general thoughts.
Do you want to go first with your general thoughts? Do you want me to go first?
Fucking god awful, Ryan.
I think it's one of my favorite comics.
Fuck off.
Loved it. I genuinely loved it.
Do you have eyes?
Yeah, that's what I loved about it. The art was so weird, and I've made the notes that... Should we just go straight into arting? I feel like that's your main area.
Let's talk about it. Well, I have some really, really defined comments about the art, so let's not go straight into the arting. We're still in general comments.
Okay, generally, I loved it. I thought it was fun. It was concise and meticulous at points when it was meant to be chaotic.
Meticulous? Yeah. It was hot garbage.
Everything comes back on itself. Like, it references that seem random. There's so many of these where...
Yeah, so does a turd on a fucking Ferris wheel. It doesn't make it good.
All right, it was thought out and enjoyable, put it that way.
Was it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun look at the old Silver Age comic like style of superhero stories, but in a kind of updated, less taking itself as seriously as some of the other things, especially Superman Silver Age comics, right? Because the other ones we've seen like that, we've got the All-Star Superman, Grant Morrison, that was like a Silver Age like celebration of Silver Age Superman, as well as the Alan Moore one, the Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. No, it was Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. But that was literally a farewell to that Silver Age Superman at that point. So
which I think we were best shot of.
Yeah, those were good. I enjoyed those. What I'm saying is...
I'm saying that comic books needed to move past that, and we have.
Yeah.
And then fucking W. Maxwell Prince has dragged us kicking and screaming back to the bad old days.
I was arm swinging, like skipping along.
You loved it. Did you really love this?
It's one of my favorite comics.
I think this is one of the most dislikable pieces of media I've ever come across.
I thought it was so fun. And I'll tell you exactly what I loved about it once we get into it.
Fucking hell, man.
Like I said, the problem with the problem
I found it borderline unreadable.
The problem I had with other Silver Age like celebrations or farewells or whatever is they take themselves so seriously when so much ridiculous stuff happened in the Silver Age that they try and make like an earnest version of it. This, I think, was fully like, this is all ridiculous. Like, all the stuff that we're kind of celebrating from the Silver Age, especially in Superman's history, is ridiculous, but they present it with that kind of knowing way, which I enjoyed. and I thought it was really fun.
I found a lot of this borderline unreadable.
Really? I thought I knew the art was going to be a problem for you. Like, I knew going in that it would be. And part of us doing this was I wanted to obviously hear you talk about it.
How ugly it is.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you on that. But I thought the story, you would, because you do enjoy some of that kind of Silver Age superhero shenanigans stuff. And I thought that was going to kind of bring you over.
It hasn't.
Evidently.
So let's start. Right, I think we're out of general thoughts.
General thoughts.
Everyone's salute. Starting with the arting. It looks like a bad webcomic.
Well, you know what surprise is? I'm probably going to agree with you on most of the stuff you say about the art.
So it looks like a bad art.
So do you want... I've got some succinct thoughts. You might agree. Like, you know where we sometimes say something that encapsulates the other's thoughts without real...
Go on.
I think this art style works really well in Ice Cream Man because it is kind of off-putting and a bit like... I don't want to even say ugly, but I would understand why you and a lot of other people would say ugly.
Hideously ugly.
And in Ice Cream Man, that works because it is an off-putting world and it fits with the context. So here, when I first read this, so I actually read this like a few months ago, and that's when I was like, oh, I really like this. So I need to make
Jamie talk about it.
And when I read it then, my very first like experience of it was... this is a bad art style to do superheroes and specifically Superman in. And then when I saw Batman, I was like, that's way worse for Batman. Like,
no, Batman
does look bad.
Batman looks like, sincerely, Batman looks like an unlicensed webcomic version of Batman.
Yeah.
Does he not?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is that style where it looks like someone's just kind of put it through by themselves and there's been no kind of like no committee or anything to vet it or anything.
Do you know what? Yeah, we talk about like DC and Marvel getting in the way of people doing interesting and innovative things with comic books.
And this is why I'm like, I enjoy this.
This is pure evidence to the contrary, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is absolute evidence.
This proves the point for me. This is like exactly like more not of this exact style.
I was going to say
more of these risks.
I never want to see this again. I want this to burn. Well, Ryan,
I've said this before. Say again for the new listeners, and we've had this point before. I will take any kind of wildly different art over the same old house style, homogenized style, over and over again.
And you make a valid point, and I am always the first one to bemoan DC and Marvel not taking bold risks.
Yeah.
And then I suppose to a certain degree it's disingenuous of me to then complain that I didn't like the particular risk they took.
I mean,
that being said,
I'm in agreement with you, but if it was just like stick figures, I wouldn't be like, yes, it's different from the house. Like, I get there is a... You don't just blanket like
stick figures. I would prefer if they got a team of errant children from Yarmouth to draw a Batman comic than what I read there.
There could be great drawers in Yarmouth. They've got those, the caricature sketch artists on the beach? Like, you know, those people?
I pick on Yarmouth. Yarmouth, for anybody who's not English, I suppose.
Norfolk. But a lot of England don't even know about Yarmouth.
Yarmouth is a coastal town in our native Norfolk, and it's a big joke to all of us because it is a bit of a shithole.
I remember I used to work with someone when I was outside of Norwich, and they said like, oh, I know Yarmouth, went on holiday there as a kid. I was like, oh yeah, how'd you find it? It's like, I had my bike stolen. I was like, that's Yarmouth.
You're lucky it was only your bike, mate. Last time I went there, I came away with no spleen. But no, I understand. I understand why, if you liked the story, you could look past the art style. And again, I wasn't looking past it. I was enjoying it. But I agree with your criticisms as well. That makes it so much worse.
But again, this is, I think, a fundamental difference between us.
Yeah.
Is I don't have as much of a requirement of it looking like whatever the definition of good art is, or good drawing, or whatever. If it's interesting to me, that is my number one thing.
But that's also true for me. I just don't think this is interesting.
Oh, I found it it's fascinating. Like how the face is going to look in the next panel. You're like, what is that going to be?
Well, it's ugly for the sake of being ugly.
Yeah, I don't think it's drawn well. It's hard. We can't get into the mind, the intention behind the artist or whatever.
I want to have them on.
Oh, I'd love to speak to him about it.
I have questions. I have questions for that person.
So we covered Ice Cream Man. It was a while ago, so
We loved
I don't
it.
think either of us. Yeah, we both enjoy it. We also covered the car crash single issue for the Eisner Awards thing,
And we loved it.
and loved that. So I'm interested to know because this is the exact same team, same art style.
Yeah.
I don't think you had as big an aversion to that. So do you think that's purely down to the content, or do
Yes.
you think it's because you expected something else from a big two and had different expectations going into it?
Potentially. I mean, I think
We should say for everyone else, like, just Google Kryptonite Spectrum Superman just Google images that, and you will see exactly what we're talking about.
100% go it. Like, the thing is, I dislike it strongly, but I would recommend it.
Yeah, you can see why I wanted you to look at it.
Yeah,
And
no,
get your
100%.
thoughts.
I understand the appeal of it to a certain degree because it's. You have to agree, Ryan. It is fuck ugly.
Here's the thing: is like again, I made the point already, so I'm not like backtracking or anything. I said I knew you wouldn't like it, and I said it's unconventional, and I said Superman looks really fucking weird in it, and the only person who looks even weirder than Superman is Batman.
Batman looks so weird.
So I'm on you, but I think we're coming to a point where we have to really define ugly as beyond just personal opinion or beauty in the eye of the beholder and all that.
So I think there's this perception that you have of me whereby I need art to be beautiful to find it compelling.
Until recently, because we did have this discussion where we ugly things drawn in a beautiful way versus ugly things or just anything drawn in an ugly style is different.
Again, so the grotesque is compelling to me. Like art can be grotesque without being ugly. And again, I don't even dislike things for being ugly. And this is a broader conversation about my taste, because I've certainly had a conversation with musician friends of mine who are like, you have a love for consonants that I don't have. So right. I love things that are in key. Yeah. Whereas he's like, I like those dirty notes. I like those notes that kind of deviate from the key a little bit and they're a bit spicy. And I'm like, I do too, but they're more seasoning than substance.
That's
for me.
Kind of the musical version of comic book art.
And this is the thing, isn't it? I like consonants. Now, that's not to say I can't see the charm in ugly things. And there are certainly things that have kind of quote unquote ugly art styles that I really love.
Yeah.
But this is, it's fugly and it's...
I think the difference is...
it's fugly. I suppose the point is it's ugly in a way that doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
It's ugly in a way that I find sort of a bit... like revolting, like looking at it kind of makes me wince a little bit.
I think the thing that drew my eye, that made me think Jamie's gonna hate this art style, and this might be related to like where your preferences come from, is the faces is the main thing. And if you listen back to past episodes, that is something you do normally gravitate to in all art styles, is you look at the faces and the character styles and stuff like that.
It's certainly my barometer for how I judge an artist, particularly a comic book artist.
And I'll agree with you, that is the worst part of this art.
It's the worst.
It is. But then, equally, again, Superman and Batman, weird as fuck. Like, especially when Batman takes his cowl off and it's like, that's the ugliest Bruce Wayne I've ever seen. But, and then you have, like, Lex Luthor and his, like, minions and stuff. And I was like, but that works for them. Because he is the bad guy in the tower, like, the big bad evil. So it is, like, this art style is so geared towards things that should make you off-putting, things that make you feel bad, and it's like, here's Superman and Batman, and you're like, I don't think you should have done that.
It's Superman and Batman. So I suppose we should probably very briefly run through the story, which I will run through now.
Sure. The art is going to keep coming back up anyway, so let's say we're in the story.
There are a bunch of new types of kryptonite, and Superman enlists Batman to help him test them.
Yeah.
One comes up.
Yeah, I noticed that. We'll talk about
that. That did make me chuckle.
Yeah.
So there's cobalt kryptonite that makes him big. There's speckled kryptonite that makes him small. There's another one that makes him young.
It's different because that has to do with like radiation and stuff. But like, if we're talking about just generally at this point, like the first 3 issues, because those are the testing kryptonite issues.
Yeah.
I think a credit to the writing. One thing I like, and I mentioned this to you before we read it, when I was like, I'm reading the Superman comic and this cool aspect of it. I think the writing is really good in this. Like, again, that's why I think, and like one of my favorite examples is the conversation between Superman and Batman about Superman's like, I should test these new kryptonites out on me. And Batman's like, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And they're back and forth about, because they're both making the correct points. Superman is essentially like, we found these new things. I need to test them on me. Batman's like, why would we do that? That's dangerous. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And Superman's like, yeah, but we need to know what would happen under test conditions in case it gets used by my enemies.
I think that paints the characters in too broad strokes. That is one of the things I dislike about it.
I thought that is like quintessentially Superman and Batman.
Exactly. Yeah. Painted in really broad strokes. Like they're not adding any extra depth here. They're not doing anything interesting with the characters. They're saying, broadly speaking, what would a Superman say? And broadly speaking, what would a Batman say but in this situation? And that is what is on the page. I just don't think there's anything interesting or compelling. I don't think anything I see in that relationship gets any deeper than the surface. And that is my problem with it.
I think that's...
And you know this is the other thing that really tickles me with comic books is when actually there is that extra layer of depth. I don't think there's any of that here.
I thought there was... I've got more examples of where I thought that was it.
I honestly think this is like... It's black. I sincerely, and I'm not just doing this to annoy you, although that is a fun byproduct.
It's a fun byproduct, yeah.
It's the most fun byproduct.
I've been on the other side, I know.
Is that I found it bland, and I found the character motivations vanilla. It's paint by numbers. Honestly,
I would definitely not call this paint by numbers.
It's drab.
But have you seen this story? Like, I get what you mean, where we do both like when there's really deep characters and like those kind of comics and those kind of stories. And while this might not be like a character exploration, again, like I said from the start, this is the point of this, and what I got out of it is it's a fun retelling of that style of Silver Age comics.
But it's not fun.
Oh, I found it fun.
Right. Okay. So
back to art again.
Well, this is the point. If the story blew me away, I could forgive it being ugly, right?
Yeah, but I'm not asking you to forgive it.
And if it was beautiful, I could forgive it being bland. But it is somehow both bland and ugly.
See, I did not get bland from it because, again, I'm not asking for this deep character exploration or anything, but at least for me, it was fun where, like, the example I gave about them arguing about it, at least, like, I read that as they're giving some thought about, like, why would characters be doing this and why are they getting into it in the first place? Because I've read, again, like, my barometer for, like, mid-comics is obviously lower than yours in the sense I've read worse stuff more often. So I'll read comics where if they were doing this kind of thing, they would have just gone straight into like, I need to test these, but I was like, I'll help you. So I'll appreciate them just like talking about and going back and forth about it. And I think it does represent the characters. Like it's like you say, it's broadly how they would be
in the broadest possible strokes.
And that's just one example. Like the actual relationship between them, there's the bits about like the running bit about Batman's line about every sentence has an asterisk. Like I thought that was fun. Again, it's not like I'm not crediting it as like amazing writing or anything, but again, just enough and how that comes up later in the story.
No,
like,
I
that
understand.
Was fun stuff.
Like it's not bad, but it's boring. And I think again, I reiterate my point. I could forgive it being a bit bland if it was beautiful, but it's not, and I could forgive it being ugly if it wasn't so bland. But the art is ugly and the storytelling is bland.
See, that kind of answers for me a bit of a question of, because I think famously, feel free to disagree if I've got this wrong, I think you've enjoyed that Silver Age style comic stuff more than me in the past, right?
Massively.
Is that because the art was just like nice retro superhero art style?
It was charming, but I like old things.
So yeah, but that's what I mean. So like this is the furthest thing from that style of art, that, like retro style art. Whereas for me, it makes the Silver Age stuff more fun that I'm like seeing it in this weird, ugly look.
What charms me about the Silver Age of comics, old comics, is that they're so earnest.
I see. I take that kind of earnestness almost like that to me is kind of more boring and bland. Like,
no, well, if it was all we had, yes.
Yeah.
But the fact that... So, for me, I get a similar experience from reading an old comic book that I do from listening to music on an outdated format or driving an old car.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of like, you're driving like an old car and you're like, this isn't going to get me where I'm going as fast. And the clutch is a bit ropey and the steering's really heavy and... it's juddering and I can't hear the stereo, but it's a fucking tape deck anyway, so it doesn't matter even if I could, because tapes are rode over 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's a charm to it, right? And that's how I feel reading an old comic book, which is like, this isn't blowing me away, but it's charming. It's charming in its antiquity. It's charming in the sense that what I'm really seeing here is the relationship that people had with these characters 70 years ago. I think, a modern nod... this to me is like, you know how like you see like radios and toasters and kettles, right? And it's a modern toaster, yeah, but it's made to look like an old one.
Retro design.
Right? Like retro design.
Yeah.
And it's designed to be bought by basic fucking people, and they're going to put it in their completely white kitchen underneath their Live, Laugh, Love poster.
Yep.
And go, look at how cool my retro toaster is. And it's like, no, fuck off. That design language was incredible 50 years ago, and is what we had. And those things are charming, but you don't even really get why it's charming because you're buying a modern reproduction. That is how this comic book makes me feel. It's kind of nodding and winking at the Silver Age in a way that has stripped it of all of its charm and its earnestness and its naivety. And what you're left with is bland.
See, the difference between us is I'm more bored by the straight, earnest stuff. Even I'm not as charmed by it because to me it is just kind of old, and I don't have as much of a affection for old stuff.
And it's so true that I am like an antiquarian.
Yeah, but then
I have such an affection for old things.
With me, to see that style of storytelling, superhero storytelling specifically, in this like really fucked up looking art style, I'm like, oh, I'm interested now. And then I'm more on board. Yeah. And I think I do have that thing where even if something is, like you say, like off-putting looking, and it, like, to speak to my own taste, I am a big fan of like horror stuff. And I enjoy horror films where I'm like, this made me feel awful. Like it was great. Like, or you should watch whatever. I do have an affinity for this looks really fucked up and weird, and I'm interested and I want to see what happens. This kind of story, if it was this kind of beat for beat story in that old art style, I think I would find it more boring. But like the difference, like you said, if the art is good, you'll put up with a bland story. If the story is great, you'll put up with bad art.
Yeah. For
me, I'm like, oh, the art's so different. I'm more willing to get on board with the story beats that I would find boring in a normal presented story.
And I suppose my question for you, that if you had this story, right, with normal DC house style art, we wouldn't have even been talking about this comic.
Probably not. I think I'm trying to imagine.
Like the story on this comic is mid. At best, it's mid.
I think I think it's as mid as the original Silver Age story fix.
And therein lies my point.
But that's like the broad plot points and everything. I do think there were little things in this that charmed me in the way that like that normal art would charm you. Like one example, a running joke in it, which it generally made me like chuckle while reading it. There's a running joke of a woman when Superman turns big and he's in the sea, and then they're trying to like calm him down because
the woman and her spreadsheet.
The woman and her spreadsheets. Yeah, I thought that was charmingly funny.
There were two redeeming features in this entire
that
thing.
was one of them.
And that was one of the things I was going to mention is that I liked the woman and her spreadsheet.
And Jon Stewart when he's like, remember, madam, F5 to save your work in the middle of, and I was like, that's fun. That's fun funny stuff.
The other thing I liked was the relationship between Shazam and young Superman.
Yeah, that was fun, yeah.
There was like that issue to me was probably the peak of the whole 5 issues. Like I enjoyed that more than any of the rest of it. But again, it's that point where we got a unique perspective on Superman, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a moment where we got a unique and interesting perspective on Superman. We saw a teenage Superman. We saw a teenage Superman getting to socialize with another teenage superhero.
Billy Batson, who's Shazam.
Yeah, and them talking about the fact that they're both orphans and their relationship with home.
The bits where they start doing the art therapy.
Yeah. And I thought that was interesting, right? Yeah. So that issue was really interesting, but it was sandwiched in amongst just a bunch of bland.
I didn't see that as bland. There were such peaks for me, just not in, again, this story, I see what you mean by it was by the numbers story generally, right? I'll concede with you on that. But it was the little bits in between that made me feel like more thought out and substantive and interesting.
Yeah.
That I went through the blander parts. Because, again, and even just like little dialogue, like Lex Luthor's dialogue, I thought was like really fun at points. Like the point where he fires the guy and he's like, and the guy's like.
So Lex Luthor says your 401k's been drained and you've been fired. And he said, I was 2 days away from retiring.
Yeah. But then there's another bit later where he's experimenting on a guy and this guy's in a in a tub of the vat of water or whatever the goo is, and he's about to be experimented on. And the guy's like, will it hurt? And Lex Luthor says, you have my word, it won't. And then the next panel's, ah! It's like fun stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
Another fun thing, this was kind of, again, when I first read it, I went in being like, I don't know what this is going to be like. The art looks really weird and bad for this type of storytelling. The first issue, where the first Kryptonite, the purple one, and again, a little nod to the lettering, the colors for the Kryptonites and stuff. Yeah. Basic stuff. I appreciate it. It was a bit of me, but
it was a little bit of you, wasn't it?
But that purple one puts his experience of time out of order. So, and then Solomon Grundy attacks Metropolis, and they have to go save it. One plot hole, which I'll give you if this is worth anything to you. Superman's like, experiment Kryptonite on me, and then it's like Solomon Grundy's attacking Metropolis, whatever. It's like, oh damn, I should have got someone to cover me at Metropolis. Like, plot hole, I'll give you that. Yeah. Should add like Supergirl or the other Justice League we see later should have been covering for him.
Do you know what though? I mean, that's not necessarily a plot hole, it's a plot point though. I'll defend that as not being a plot hole.
The only reason to me is a plot hole is because if you think about it, the characterizations of Superman and Batman in this, Superman
would have thought of that.
Well, Superman should have thought of it because he's like, I need to prepare for if these Kryptonites are ever used against me. It's like, well, you're forward thinking, but you're not like having a substitute superhero ready for Metropolis or whatever. Absolutely. And fair enough, like you can't get bloody, Green Arrow or someone to do it. Like it's got to be a Wonder Woman or a Supergirl or you know someone of that level. But in that first issue, he experiences time out of order. It starts like incrementally. He's just hearing lines that come up later. And again, part of what I was saying, how everything ties back together and nothing's wasted. Yeah. To me, I thought nothing was wasted. Everything was purposeful, even if it seemed random at the time. Lines that he's hearing in the beginning come back later. One is just like Batman's like, I've dislocated my shoulder. It's like, well, he's going to get injured later. But then we get
Lane breaking up.
The Lois Lane breaking up with him thing. Like I thought that was like, and he knows, like he sees that from the start. So all the stuff he's doing after that, he's got in his head, Lois is going to break up with me. Like he knows it, but he's dealing with other stuff, so he can't address it in the moment. And then to combine the kind of story and the art, and I think this is a big like what they did in Ice Cream Man, the stuff they were pushing. I think this comic uses the medium of comics really well. I think they do some interesting stuff. The first example of it is that purple one. All the panels are out of order, using the panel layout of a page. And then he puts them in order in the end. And you see Superman stepping away, looking at the page in the correct order. He's like, right, this is what's happened. And stuff like that was like, again, I'll concede you, the story is bland, but I think they do so much other stuff around and how they tell the story. That's what got me into it. And that's what I enjoyed the most. So in actually talking about it with you, I've actually arrived at like, oh, I didn't like this. Oh, no, it's not that I didn't like it. I agree with you, it's bland. It didn't register anything with me. Yeah. But I had all this other stuff around the story and in the story.
So the way they'd hung the story. Yeah. Like the way they'd framed it out.
Yeah. The narrative devices and tools and tricks they were using were more fun to me than the story beats. I will concede that.
Yeah, okay. And do you know what? I will concede that as well, because I acknowledge that, and there was a couple of points where I went, oh, that's neat. Yeah. And it was the exact things you're talking about. And I suppose this is where it comes down to preference.
Yes.
Is that it was enough for you, it wasn't enough for me.
This, like All-Star Superman, is like a very big, this is stuff for me and it's not so much for you.
That's an interesting point, isn't it?
This is a very similar story to All-Star Superman. Like, if you think about the overall, which we'll get into the ending later.
The other interesting point is that oftentimes we come into Superman stuff and you really quite liked it. And I really didn't.
I don't know. I think we've been similar on most other, because the big one is All-Star. Like, that's the one that we were so on as more opposite ends of.
I think it's interesting because actually it's less common that we disagree. Generally speaking, we'll come in with like different things we liked, and there'll be some finer points that we'll disagree on. But for the most part, we're not combative on this podcast.
Yeah, we've got pretty similar tastes.
We tend to have. Oh God, Ryan's just.
I'm bringing up some Google images just to refresh the art.
Oh, it's so ugly. It's so fucking ugly.
To be fair, it works really well with Solomon Grundy. And again, like I say, the art works really well if you're looking at something that's meant to be off-putting.
Yeah, but it's Batman, perfect. Fuck me. I tell you what, it did get 1 point though.
Yeah,
it got 1 point with me because there was an instance of Robin.
Yes, trying to remember the point now. Yeah,
it was when he was putting together things in the timeline, and there was just one panel where Batman was running alongside Robin. If
Yes,
you look.
it's like an old, like, and memory's gone or teammates gone. And
Yes.
and that was the classic. That's the one they used in, they parodied in Only Fools and Horses.
Yes.
The running down, but it was like the comic version of it.
Yes, and it appears that that's Dick Grayson based on kind of what Batman looks like and what Robin looks like.
Yeah, I think, from the
So
50s,
it does get one Robin out of 4.
One Dick Grayson, 1 out of 4 Robins.
Because my DC ranking scheme, I've fine tuned it a bit from last week. Last week it was just like how many Robins, but I gave something that had 2 of the Robins in it, 2 Robins out of 4. So a DC comic, my ranking scheme based on how much I like it is how many of the Robins I see.
Yeah.
And so this one gets 1 out of 4 Robins because I'm assuming I got to see Dick Grayson.
Yeah, you will assume for the sake of giving you something to take away from this comic, it was Dick Grayson.
Well, if it was Jason Todd, we're all fucked.
Yeah. I tell you what, one thing I forgot to mention the art bit.
God, Ryan, it's so ugly.
I like the big splash pages. I think they're laid out really interestingly.
Jesus Christ, man.
Do you not think? Because again, I agree with you on the
hideous.
specific light, but like the actual layer of the whole thing.
No.
The perspectives
there's very little in that artwork that I can recommend. Like, there is very little there that I like. Yeah, I just don't like. I mean, I just don't like the bat wing looks kind of cool, I suppose.
Yeah,
is it called the Batwing?
Yeah, probably. Sometimes it's called the Batwing. Sometimes it's called the Bat.
The Batwing looks kind of cool, but in general, I find it really off-putting.
Fair enough. We've established that, so fair enough. The only other stuff that I think is worth mentioning, like I said, it's very similar to All-Star Superman, is when you get into the last 2 issues is when it kind of ramps up to this ending. So from this point, if you've listened to us talk about it, and if you're anything like me and you might want to read it, if you're anything like Jamie, maybe you don't want to read it. But
do you know what?
You recommend just for the novelty of it.
Well, because that is the only basis on which I can recommend this is as a novelty.
Yeah,
it's a novelty item. This is like me playing through the 2006 Chinese Pokemon Yellow NES bootleg.
Yeah,
it's like
which you haven't downloaded.
Of course not. No,
that'd be illegal.
Absolutely, yeah. But it would be like me doing that.
Imagine what that would be like. You know, the funny thing is, I think this comic has, if not from sales, I don't know. I don't think it's come up on any like top sales or anything. But I think I don't think it's panned either. I think the collected volume will do better than like this, because the ones that hit the issues are normally like the running, the current run of Batman, the current run of Spider-Man, Superman, whatever. Limited runs like these normally don't make it in. I think the collected volume, which I think that will like do better. Whether that does or not, this has been relatively well received. Again, not in a this is the best Superman comic of all time kind of way. I think.
No, absolutely.
But in more my sense, like this was weird and I enjoyed it.
The thing is, I will concede that like there's not anything wrong with it.
You're allowed to say you think you're allowed to say the art is wrong with it. I think you're allowed to have that opinion.
Again, like the art is ugly, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. It's just ugly.
Yeah.
Like it does. The art is perfectly serviceable. The art. Right. So I'm refining my thoughts on this as we go through the episode.
So I've been as well.
The art is like very legible panel to panel, right?
Yeah.
Like the art is incredibly legible panel to panel.
You can always understand what's going on.
You can always understand what's going on. It always makes sense. Everything is in proportion, right? Like the thing that I usually complain about is jank.
Yeah.
But like Superman is consistently fucking butt ugly panel to panel. The faces are consistently off-putting throughout.
I would say all humans are pretty ugly in this.
Yeah, but it's consistent.
Yes.
Like, it's not bad art, Ryan. The art is good. Like
that's incredible you've got to that point.
The art, but it does the thing that comic book art needs to. I can consistently tell what's going on in the story. It moves well panel to panel. Like, the art, it's clearly been drawn by somebody who's really competent. I just find their art style fucking ugly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So, like...
And you'd agree it works better with, like, horror anthology comic.
100%. This same artist, when I read a horror anthology by them, I loved it.
Yeah.
Reading their Superman comic, it's just so fucking ugly, Ryan. Like, I can't explain the extent to which I don't like it, but that's not to say there's anything wrong with it.
That's fair enough, yeah. That's fair enough.
And there's nothing wrong with the story. I find it really bland. But does it hold up as a story? Yes.
So
does it move through a series of plot points in a way that makes logical sense? Yes.
So I think the blandest for me in terms of the plot points, I think, were issues 2 and 3. Because issue 2, essentially, the plot is
nothing happens.
Well, Superman gets big and they have to... Can't say nothing happens.
No,
Superman gets giant.
No, Superman gets big and they have to unbig him.
And then Lex uses the old red kryptonite to make him angry.
Yeah.
And again, smart thing where Lois Lane in issue 3 brings the police to Lex Luthor. It's like, you saw him fire a thing at Superman and that's what made him angry. And that's, why everything happened. And Lex is like, weren't the Justice League, like, trying to restrain Superman, like, just minutes later? Like, I'm doing what they were doing. And I thought that's smart, like, that's how we would get out of that. And, that kind of stuff. But yeah, issue 2, he gets big, and they have to deal with that. And issue 3, he's young, and he's hanging out with Billy Batson. They go to a fairground that's, like, obviously trapped by Toyman and a doctor something.
So I quite like the Billy Batson issue.
I like them hanging out. I think once they got to the fairground stuff, and I was like,
bit weird, bit stupid.
That was quintessential Silver Age heroes. Like, we've designed a trap to capture the superheroes, and the superheroes just like breeze through it with like no issue. But yeah, that stuff happens there. This is the point where, like I said, if you haven't read it, stop listening. If you don't care, then finish the episode.
Fucking Lex Luthor makes a green kryptonite clone of himself to fight Superman.
Yes. I was going to...
Dumb.
Dumb. Well, no, again, shenanigans.
It's just bollocksy shenanigans.
Yeah. But I was going to talk about issue 4, because issue 4 is a non-kryptonite based issue, but it turns out the rainbow kryptonite at the end was a SOS message from the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
And the main character we know from the fifth dimension is Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Kal-El.
Well, not till the end.
Yeah.
But Mxyzptlk, which I try and pronounce correctly every time, is basically needs help because, and again, this was stuff, I thought that was the best issue for me because I thought when they do that kind of stuff, it's like, we're in a chaos world and everything's crazy. It's normally just randomness for the sake of randomness. I think every little thing was something that meant something else or referenced something else or was then referenced later. That's what I meant by meticulous writing of the story.
If I'm going to be entirely frank with you, I'd already given up with this comic book at that point, and I read issue 4 while trying to soothe a crying baby. So, like, maybe I didn't give it as much careful attention as I could have done.
And look, to be fair, the art gets the weirdest it gets in that issue, so you might also like it less for that reason as well. But there was just lots of little stuff. The antagonist of that issue is Mr. Mxyzptlk. It's like, it looks, because if you read it wrong, it's like, it's Brainiac. And Superman's like, Brainiac's like, no, Brian-iac.
Yeah.
It's a boy who has no imagination, is trying to erase imagination. And it's like, what is happening here? And then there's like Mr. Mxyzptlk does his like guide.
Mr. what, sorry?
Mr. Mxyzptlk. He's explaining the instructions of how to survive the fifth dimension, and it's all fun stuff. One of the recommendations is take a COVID test, because it's just like, you might as well, like, just in case.
Fuck it.
And the whole create your own like fifth dimensional representation, which is then how we meet Batmite later. Batman's whole thing, again, that's very Silver Age stuff. Batman getting into, he says, I have a fifth dimension personality named Batmite. I intentionally had mental breakdowns to build this thing. And we've mentioned before previously, Chip Zdarsky's run on the Batman that he did like last year or the year before. He did a storyline about Batman creating personalities within his head as fail safes in case something happens to him. Then one of them has a weird name that I can't remember, but it's a weird colored looking Batman. Like he's like purple and mustard yellow and brown and stuff. And he's got a name I can't remember. And then that version of Batman, which turns out when he was unconscious, built a robot and put himself in. And then that robot was called Failsafe. And it was a really contrived story from a otherwise great writer in Zdarsky, but he took a big swing and a miss. When they mentioned the stuff in here, the stuff that I didn't like in Zdarsky's run, I was like, I actually like this stuff now. Batmite, he's one of his personalities.
Do you think they were referencing it?
I don't know, because I wrote it down as a reference, but I'm like, again, this stuff was from the 60s Silver Age stuff. Like, and that's where Zdarsky got it. Like, he took a dumb thing from the 60s Silver Age, and he was like, I'm going to make a cool updated version. I was like, swing and a miss, buddy. Sorry. But in this, I was like, it's the whole comic and story, and especially fifth dimension stuff, is inherently dumb.
Yeah.
So when you get Batman being like, I've made personalities and one of them is Batman, I'm like, all right, cool.
All right, I'm in.
It fits.
Fuck it, I'm going for it.
It fits. It all fits.
Yeah, okay.
And then Superman makes his own fifth dimension helper, Kal-Elf.
Yeah.
And this was the kind of stuff where I was like, maybe this is stuff that's going to win Jamie over. But you'd obviously, you had been harmed so much, psychic damage from the earlier comic, that you just weren't receptive to this at all.
Yeah, I wasn't. By the time I got to issue 4, and again, I was soothing a crying baby for the entire time though. And there is something to be said for a baby crying directly in your ear.
The old meme was his crying atom bomb versus crying baby.
Oh, mate, there's nothing worse. I love him so much, but he just cries so loud. And then I read 5 and I was like, it kind of lands at least. At least it lands.
Yeah. There's also a bit in the fifth dimension where Mixes Pitlick offers different styles of art for them to escape the baddies to.
Yeah.
And one of them's the art therapy one from the issue 3, and then one of them is spreadsheet version.
Yeah.
And I love the detail. They actually have an Excel spreadsheet depicting the events as they're happening.
Yes.
With all the characters and everything. And then it
bit of cubism.
Exactly. But that kind of stuff I just found very charming. And when I normally don't I'm not normally a fan of when Batman turns up a Batman. I think it's so far and away from the character. When Mixes Pitlick and Superman interact, it's more appropriate, but Mixes Pitlick is such a powerful character to Superman. It's how normal people feel to Superman, but it feels he can't really do anything. Maybe he can outsmart him in a kind of, Rapunzel kind of way, or that kind of stuff, but it always feels a bit off and weird. This, I was just I'm along for the ride. I'm sitting in the roller coaster, I'm on the It's a Tiny World thing, and I'm just bring it on.
It's a small world after all.
Exactly. Which Toy Man is we don't want to get sued for saying that. At one point, the story turns into a written novel.
Yeah.
And then Mixes Pitlick is stop that, actually, don't worry about that. So that kind of stuff was were you talking about what charms you about comics? This is stuff I was I appreciate the thought. It's making me chuckle at points. I thought this was a better version of the All-Star Superman story to a degree, in some respects, than the Grant Morrison one. And that does kind of bring us to the end where, like you say, it is Lex Luthor, Kryptonite Man. I did not know Kryptonite Man was a real bad guy, so I had to look him up. And apparently there's just so many different versions of him, so I can understand. It makes sense why they use him for this. It's a story about all different types of kryptonite. Superman's experiencing the negative effects of them all, and then
Kryptonite Man,
they've been personified into a clone of Lex Luthor in a way, and it kind of culminates in a nice way that I thought, and it does kind of. It does kind of turn into a bit of a Deus Ex character at the end, to the point where I think Mixes Pitlick is reading a book that says Deus Ex Machina on the front as it's happening. So they do hang a lampshade on it. Which,
they do hang a lamp on it.
Which can be cowardly, but I think they do so much different stuff in this that I was fine, you acknowledge it. It is a wacky story.
Can we talk about the pink kryptonite moment?
Oh, yeah, that was fun. So to a backstory, our previous conversation about it.
Yeah, so Ryan didn't believe me when I told him that pink kryptonite was a thing.
It's not even necessarily that I didn't believe. It's not that I thought you'd got it wrong, I think. I thought you were actively making a joke.
Yeah,
it is
thought I was making
ridiculous
it up.
Premise.
But it's from a Supergirl comic in 2006. They introduce, and this is only the second time it's ever turned up. They introduce pink kryptonite, which makes Superman gay.
Yeah, and it makes an appearance here because Luthor has a bunch of kryptonite. He has a bunch of different kryptonite already. He fires it. He fires it in a big battle scene where all Superman's robots from his Fortress Solitude come. And I like them. I find their little things charming.
I found them quite charming.
Yeah, they're they want to serve him, and they're being overly nice to him because they have to be. But Superman's always yes, thank you, and I appreciate that. And at one point, he says that line about every sentence has an asterisk, and the robot's actually, grammatically, I don't think that's correct. And then later, he's getting the fortress is falling because Superman's grown big in it, and a rock is falling on him. It's I'm sorry, I corrected you about the asterisk thing. It's just fun stuff. But they come in to fight. It's another thing you won't like, or you didn't like. the evil Superman robots that Lex has, they're built off Bizarro. So they at the beginning, for only a little bit, they talk like Bizarro.
Yeah.
And then they very quickly change.
Fucking Bizarro, the worst thing I've ever read.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people might agree with you there.
But yeah, so he shoots the pink kryptonite from a little rocket, but it's in the middle of a big battle scene, and he's like, I know what will make Superman less effective here. If he likes cock.
Yeah.
Plot twist, doesn't.
No.
It's not how homosexuality works.
And a good point to the comic, because they depict exactly that. And it's funny, the pink kryptonite literally only seemingly lasts seconds, just long enough at its peak effect for Superman to turn to Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I've never realized how smashing you look in a bow tie, or whatever. And then Jimmy's like, thanks, are you all right? And then quickly, Superman's like, oh, I'm fine now, but I can compliment another man and say that does look good on you. So he goes from I'm saying it because I'm physically attracted to you to then regaining his normality and then being like, but actually, while I'm saying it, you are an attractive man, and one guy can say it to another and that kind of stuff. So it almost kind of went out of its way to be like, this is ridiculous. This is how it would happen if there was a pink kryptonite affecting Superman. Like you said, it wouldn't be debilitating for any reason to have your sexual orientation changed temporarily by kryptonite.
It would be really unsettling though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you'd be like, what's happening? This is odd. This is unusual. What's happening?
I think, if I was suddenly gay, I'd be like, this is really odd. I'm going to go cottaging. I hear it's quite easy for gay men to procure sex with each other. I'm going to go do some of that.
I mean, on the one hand, that is a stereotype about gay men. On the other hand, it's very correct for men in general, of all orientations.
And this is the point, isn't it?
Yes.
So it'd be like, well, the point is...
Straight men would if they could.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
If I was suddenly gay, I'd be like, probably try it out. Bro, I'll have a go.
I mean, if ever there was a time.
I feel like... yeah, that's a really valid point, isn't it?
And also, at this moment in time, Lois Lane has just broken up with him.
Yeah, he's single. He's unattached. He could have had a pop at Jimmy Olsen.
And Olsen, fair enough, Olsen's probably straight. And, we don't know in this depiction. I think most of the time he is depicted as straight.
Yeah.
But I feel like he missed an opportunity. He's bloody Superman. The Man of Steel.
I feel like if I was going to have sex with any superhero, it wouldn't be Superman. I feel like that's...
We know what your answer would be. Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson.
You had to think about it. I wonder.
Maybe. No, but I feel like sex with Superman would hurt.
Well, this is the thing. Is I think
we've
he's
had
so
this
used
conversation
to,
before.
Yeah, he's so used to being to scale a person in a paper world. A bit everything's made of paper and soft and stuff.
Yeah,
he's so used to being like that. You would just assume he has worked to bring that into the bedroom as well. Probably a very gentle and considerate lover.
It's missionary in the dark. It's missionary in the dark,
yes.
Isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's good. It's not saying it's bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, the stamina.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he is a farm boy from Kansas.
Yeah, this is true.
If we were being derogatory,
he knows how to plow a field.
Yeah. He knows how to deal with a heifer. I think if we were being derogatory to Superman, we might go as far as to say he can only do it through a hole in the sheet. But Lois would not put up with that.
He can only do it through a hole in a sheet. That's so funny.
Well, that's getting the best of.
Oh, God, yeah, that's the best of 2026, guys.
So,
can we be done talking about this comic yet?
The very ending, I thought, again, was a nice, charming ending to it. And I'll give you it that the bollocks in it does get to a contrived, oh no, he's dying from the kryptonite. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
But again, calls back to, they do set up in the first issue. So the reason that Lois is breaking up with Superman, she literally uses the phrase, I'm in my 40s, I can't wait around. So they haven't got kids or anything in this. And she's just presuming I can't have a child with a superhero who might die any day. And that she kind of proven right by the events of this. And then when they're in the midst of all this battle and Lois is kind of hey, I know we broke up, but I still care about you and stuff. And Superman says, I just want to get across, regardless of what happens between us, I fully support why you would want to end things with us to be a mother. And he's and any kid that gets to have you as a mother is the luckiest kid, has won the lottery in life,
Yeah.
So the result of him having affected by all these kryptonites and Batman's working on, also he blows up, again, a fun thing, he blows up Kryptonite Man because Kryptonite Man's I am Krypton, basically. And then he gets Kal-El as the Deus Ex character who's oh yeah, you're Kryptonite. You know what happened to Krypton? It's like the art therapy thing shows it blowing up, and he's like, what? And then he blows up, and it's like, well, there you go. That is pretty contrived.
Yeah.
But the illness of the Kryptonite and effects on him, it gets to a point where Batman's got him on the table and he's doing the exams on him and stuff, and he's like, it's like a child's virus, but because of his Kryptonite DNA, he can't survive it, and it thinks it's a child's flu, but his body thinks it's like stage 4 cancer, and so it's like violently reacting to it, and that's why he's dying. And then it gets to a point where they go, I think I know what to do. We're using the Kryptonites that we've been dealing with this entire story, so I'm going to do something. And then it does, again, a nice little attention to detail thing. Lois says, what can we do? What is the solution? And Batman's like, you're not going to like it. And then the next panels, they are talking to each other, but there's no words in the speech bubbles.
Yeah.
So intentionally is the writer being like, you're not going to get this now. We're going to give it to you in a bit.
Yeah.
And Lois says, okay, fine. It's our responsibility. Like, we've got to do this. And then it cuts to Lois, like months later, Batman's got his own, he's in his cave, he's got his own robot. He's still working on, like, he can save Clark from this disease or whatever.
Yeah.
Cuts to Lois that she's in her home with Olsen, and the superhero could turn big. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
And she's like taking out some diapers, and she very obviously got a kid. And then it shows that the kid in the basket is Superman.
Yeah.
And I think that was, again, I could see the strings very obviously, the very contrived way how they got to that in the end. But I do appreciate how they built it up, the relationship between Superman and Lois, and introducing the idea of her wanting to be a mother, and Superman being like, yeah, that'd be any kid that's your mum is the best.
I think it's weird, though. He's going to be a really awkward toddler, and she's going to be looking at him. She's going to be like, I fucked that toddler. That's weird.
That is weird, but this is the weird world where weird shit like this happens. I mean,
I suppose in terms of like things that the guy who wrote Ice Cream Man could have come up with,
way down on the list of things.
Being your own girlfriend's child, not that weird.
I mean, put it this way: if you, through some contrived situation, were suddenly turned into a baby, would you trust your partner to look after you as a baby?
Yes, but also no.
I mean, who else would you trust?
Yeah, no, yeah, so true. Like, I'd trust them more than anyone else, but still, ick.
And that's the thing. And that's why she said, it's our responsibility. We got to do this. But yeah, it's a very weird scenario, but I appreciated where they were going with that. Like, I appreciated where they were going with that kind of earnestness of like, Superman's done so much for us, and now we have to look after him and all that stuff. And they pay off with him getting younger in issue 3.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I meant. Like, I appreciate the thoughtfulness where they set up everything and everything comes back and everything pays off, even despite the fact that they have the Silver Age superhero shenanigans where stuff just happens. Like,
yeah, okay.
So there was stuff in it I really liked. There was stuff that I didn't even realize was bland because I didn't think about it until you pointed it out. So for all this is why I found it such an interesting comic overall, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I certainly didn't like it, but that's not to say I think it's bad in any way. I just didn't like it.
I think the best way to say is it wasn't for you at all.
Not even a little bit.
Nah. And that's the thing, is part of talking about stuff like this, and whether you call it reviewing it or deconstructing it or whatever you call it, what we do, I think it's important to recognize our own biases. And that's why I'll say things like, oh, that's a bit of me, rather than being like, it is great.
I mean, again, like I've told you objectively, I don't think it's a matter of bias. I think I didn't like it because there's certain things it didn't do well.
Yeah, no, and I agreed with you on that. But I'm talking about sort of more like the art and the presentation and stuff.
Oh, it's so ugly. I can't get over how ugly it is, Ryan.
And I think, as I said, we're finding where you have certain, and bias is like maybe like a negative sounding term.
Yeah,
I view it more as like neutral, but like where your preferences play into how you appreciate things or not, or just how you enjoy them. And like you've said, if you enjoy aspects of it, you forgive other aspects of it. So when it's doing stuff that specifically goes against your preferences or your bias or whatever you want to call them, you will just view it differently. And
I think it sounds like the grand argument you're working towards there is that it's my fault that I didn't like it.
No, I'm saying,
and I just want to highlight the fact that I didn't like it because it was fucking ugly.
But beauty's in the eye of the beholder, as they say. I'm not trying to blame you for not liking it. Because there's been things that I've not liked that you've liked. And I've not said, I'm correct and you're wrong. Like, I've said...
Well, not in as many words.
This did things that just doesn't appeal to me for whatever. I think the one I can remember is we did that Supergirl one, which was very like a again, very...
Oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't say it was bad.
No.
I never said it was bad.
You talked about that you didn't like it, yeah?
Yeah, well, that it didn't do stuff for me, that it didn't do things that I normally enjoy in these kind of stories.
It's interesting, because that was dirt simple as well.
I wouldn't call this simple. Again, the plot points, the basic, the beats in the story, like, as you say, I think are a simple Silver Age story.
I've met
superhero
13th
story.
century illiterate shepherds with more complexity.
Well, I know for a fact you haven't.
I'm as old as time.
And also you can make the argument every real life person is more complex than most fiction.
Yeah.
Because inherently real life is the most complex thing.
Yeah, we all contain multitudes.
So to summarize, I would say this did a lot of things that appeals to my sensibilities and a lot of things that goes against my preferences and goes against yours.
We chef.
Yes. So I think enough for the comic. And the only other thing that I was going to bring up is a very quick, because we did not allocate time for it like we said we were going to. I was just going to bring up the fact that I watched the MCU series Wonder Man recently. And
Wonder Man?
Yes. So Wonder Man, barely anyone knows about it. They've done a bad job of
Is it about
promoting
William Moulton Marston?
No.
Oh.
Because that wouldn't be Wonder Man, because that would imply that he's married to Wonder Woman, but the woman he was married to was inspiration for Wonder Woman, so maybe...
Oh.
Actually, no, because then he'd be more of a Steve Trevor character who wasn't superpowered at all, so...
So what's Wonder Man?
Wonder Man is...
Please don't tell me it's just a gender-swapped Wonder Woman who's a man.
No. Why would Marvel do that?
Oh, yeah, shit, sorry. Yeah,
and why would DC ever do that in this climate? It's like, you love gender swapping, we made Wonder Woman a man.
Well, that's what I thought had just happened. I kind of filtered out where you said MCU in my head.
And Marvel has cast a white guy to play Black Panther.
and playing... And playing Black Panther is Timothée Chalamet. Yeah. The whitest white man to ever be a white man.
So none of that has happened.
No, okay, so what's Wonder Man about?
Wonder Man he's a character in the Marvel comics universe. He was a guy, I think we've read him in something, I can't remember what it is at the top of my head, but he was basically a guy who was a businessman who got superpowers. Some Avengers shenanigans gave him superpowers, and then, because he couldn't be a businessman anymore, he became a actor. So he's not like an actual proper hero. He does occasionally dove hero stuff, but he's most known for being an actor in films and stuff who has superpowers.
Excellent,
basically.
Love it.
So this TV show, they basically redo the story of it in the sense that this is a character who is basically just a guy in Hollywood who's trying to become an actor.
Yeah.
And he goes up for the role of his lifetime, which is the role of Wonder Man, who was like a 70s schlocky sci-fi film character who they're like reimagining in the modern day, but the character also has superpowers.
That sounds interesting.
And I'll tell you what, it was a delight, like a real fun story, real fun TV show, but it is also the furthest from MCU thing the MCU has done.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Yes, on Disney Plus. So some of the stuff that it does, and I'll say right now, if you haven't seen it, take my recommendation, go watch it. I'm not going to try and spoil much, but some of the stuff that's good about it will somewhat spoil what happens in, if that makes sense. I'm sure you don't care about spoilers, so I'm going to tell you regardless, right?
No, don't, because I'm going to go home and I'm going to go home and watch it.
All right, so it's the least Marvel thing. I will not tell you one of the things I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
That is a great thing they do that's so different for the MCU. But one of the other things is, it's the main guy Simon Williams, I think his name is, Wonder Man.
Who's the actor?
The actor is... I think he's American. He has an American accent, but his name is Yahya Abdul Mateen. I'm pretty sure this is the same guy. I'm going to get crucified if it's not. I'm pretty sure he played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen TV show that came out a few years ago.
That's a while back.
Yeah. No, the
TV
show,
not the movie, yeah.
But
I tell you what he was in. He was the friend in the episode of Black Mirror where they had sex in the fighting game.
Yeah, with Captain America.
With Captain A. And he's a great actor. He played
fantastic.
the shit out of that.
So part of the reason this TV show is so good is he's great in it. He's great at playing this guy who literally just desperately wants to become an actor and nothing else. But he's also that actor who's like, I wrote some backstory for my character. And the people on set are like, ugh. Like, ugh. But it's a kind
I actually have an idea for my guy. Maybe he's the best.
Yeah. But his is all like, oh, maybe we should get this book for this desk in this scene because, you reference him doing this earlier and this is the best book for that thing. And the writers are just like, oh, I don't have time for this. But then he gets this potential role of Wonder Man, who is like a 70s superhero from his childhood. And he's like, I need to play this role. And in all this, he runs into a guy called Trevor Slattery. Do you know who Trevor Slattery is?
Not a clue.
So he is in an existing character in the Marvel Universe.
Right.
Do you remember Iron Man 3? Did you watch Iron Man 3?
I did, yeah.
The guy who was the Mandarin, who turned out to be an actor.
Yeah, Trevor Slattery.
Ben Kingsley's character, who's like...
It's Ben Kingsley,
He is like the other actor who's also up for a role in Wonder Man.
That's great.
It turns into a kind of buddy cop, like, friendship between them.
You sold me on it.
And Ben Kingsley, this guy, Trevor Slattery, I thought most people didn't like that reveal in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, we're getting the Mandarin. And Ben Kingsley, like, looks like a terrorist on, like,
Ben
VHS.
Kingsley... And Ben Kingsley is...
He's a great actor.
Well, he's a fantastic actor.
Sir Ben Kingsley. We should be getting that,
Sir
right?
Ben Kingsley. He's like... I mean, Ben Kingsley played fucking Gandhi well.
Yeah.
Like, Ben Kingsley is a phenomenal actor.
Yeah. And when he was the Mandarin, he's like, America.
Do you know what's really interesting?
Lesson to teach you.
You know, there was like a lot of complaints online about Ben Kingsley playing Gandhi.
I didn't know that, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, obviously, yeah.
And Ben Kingsley has Indian heritage and originally had an Indian name that he anglicised for Hollywood.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, Ben Kingsley's like Indian.
It's like how a lot of people don't know Freddie Mercury was... I can't remember off the top of my head what ethnicity, so I'm not going to guess, but
Freddie Mercury was from... I know this... Freddie Mercury, what occupies modern-day Persia?
Persian sounds correct, yeah.
No, it's wrong. Persian isn't wrong. He has very specific heritage. The country that he was originally from occupies modern-day Persia, but he is...
So Googled it, born in Zanzibar to Indian parents from the Parsi community.
Yeah,
if I'm
so
saying
the
that
Parsi,
correctly.
sorry, that's where I got it wrong. His parents have Persian heritage, Parsi community. And so he was born in Zanzibar.
Yeah. So, yeah, makes sense for Kingsley. Why it kind of makes sense why they got him as like the racially ambiguous Mandarin character, but then it turned out not to be the Mandarin because they did the twist in Iron Man 3 where Tony Stark finds him, he's like, I'm just an actor. A proper like
British accent. Yeah.
Oh, I'll just do a role and stuff. So at the time that was pelted as like, because then they had the antagonist at the end being like the Guy Pearce character with all the firepower. She's like, you want the Mandarin? I'm the Mandarin. And the audience is like, nah. Like, no, that was dumb.
You're not the Mandarin.
He then came back a bit in the Shang-Chi film where because that actually has the real Mandarin. They had to retcon to be like, there isn't just only a fake Mandarin. There is a real Mandarin who we will introduce in this film.
Yeah.
And then they brought him as the father of Shang-Chi. And the Mandarin bust him out of prison for posing as him as like a punishment to like get him out. And then in this one, he turns up again. But in Iron Man 3, part of a bad twist. Most people didn't like the twist, or they didn't like it.
I liked the twist.
I thought it was like a a very obvious bait and switch. Was just like you could have just not done the Mandarin at all, or do the Mandarin, but don't do it with not doing it because it's like the worst of both worlds, you know. But in Shang-Chi, he's just like a very comic relief character, and he is in this as well. But in Shang-Chi, he was just like a weird guy, like when someone's a bit too not even quippy, but too like almost like the closest reference I can make, like Manic Pixie Dream Girl, that just a weird older guy who was an actor and a terrorist. Anyway, in this, he's loads of fun. He's like fantastic.
So, are we recommending it? Everyone should go watch it.
100% recommending it. Only 8 episodes, so quick watch for everything. Half an hour episodes, so you'll get through in like 4 hours exactly. But yeah, highly recommend. Go and watch it.
Cool. So thank you so much for listening. Big things coming from the Comic Literate podcast. Is that what we're called?
I think that's what we're called.
Soon.
Yeah.
Big things coming soon. So keep your eyes peeled. There might be a website that you can go on. There might be a couple of different places. Ryan also has brought up a YouTube comment for me to read.
Well, I thought you'd especially appreciate this second backing from an American.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is collecting comments from Americans that justify me being so mean about America.
In the same way that someone might have a
I've got a black friend!
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, but it's the Americans, so we're getting away with it. This is from podcast superfan Leon Goopy. It is but 15 hours old. which is about the amount of time that episode has been up for.
But it'll be a week and 15 hours by the time this episode comes out.
Sorry, week and 15 hours. We record a week in advance. He says, as an American, I appreciate the jabs. Our country is absolutely cooked. Send help. We have nothing to be prideful about. Thank you for the comment, Lee and Goopy. Thank you for listening to the podcast.
To be fair, when he says jabs, is he talking about vaccines?
I did wonder.
Because we also appreciate them, but you should do your own research. Have you heard of mercury?
Oh, don't.
Some people will take that seriously. Do your own research for whatever that fucking means in this day and age. All I'll say is I did know a comedian, my London days, who was very autistic, but was doing stand-up and was really good at it.
Yeah.
And his first line would come out, he would say, classic comedian thing, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm autistic. My parents vaccinated me. And you can see somebody always be like, oh, can we laugh at that?
I mean, as a comic book fan, I can't recommend autism enough.
Oh yeah, if you've got a passion, like a hobby, like you will lock in.
Yeah, if you want to like really enjoy something specific, a little dose of autism does not hurt.
If you want to have an encyclopedic knowledge of anything you get into, to the point that it pushes away other people who are more casual fans of it, because you start getting into all this backstory and like lore and stuff they don't know about. It's great for that.
Great. It's fantastic.
I can personally recommend. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. We don't know what we've got next week, but tune back in next week.
Peace. Love you all. Bye.
And thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe to get notified of our future episodes as well. And if you're feeling particularly generous, then please leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you're using. If you'd like to get in contact with us, then send an email to comiclit@gmail.com. You can also watch videos by me on the Comic Stand YouTube page, which is linked in the description. Thank you, goodbye.